Okay, well, welcome to my beautiful little studio. My name's Amy Harrison from Floriculture, and I am going to teach you how to create a flower crown today. Really nice, simple crown that you can do at home in this time of hibernation. So I just went to Coles to purchase the flowers today, just so I can prove how easy it is for yourselves to pop down to your local supermarket. There's lots of flowers there. And then you don't have to go and travel a huge distance to get your flowers. So I've just gotten a couple of carnations in a soft pink there, some deep pink chrysanthemums. These are really nice and long lasting. You get lots of varieties and colours. And some Statice, sort of a purpley pinky Statice. Now from my garden, I've collected some Spanish moss, or old man's beard as it's referred to. I've cut some ivy leaves. I mean, I love ivy leaves because they actually look like a little heart. So they grow everywhere and they create a really nice shape in flower crowns and many other wiring techniques. And I've also cut some of this gorgeous I actually don't know the name, but it's a bright green succulent. There you go. It's beautiful because it sort of picks up on the similar falling kind of feature of a Spanish moss. Now I've got some ribbon to tie off at the end, and I thought instead of going pink, I thought I might just go for a lime green to pick up on the lime green of the succulents. I've got my eco-friendly parafilm, but you can also buy just your normal parafilm. But this stuff's good for the planet. I've got two 20 gauge wires, long length, two here. And then I've got a pair of floristry scissors, red and whites, and a pair of ribbon scissors to cut your ribbon. So I'll put those up to the side. And you begin by laying out your flowers in little piles. And first of all, I'm going to prepare my wires. So I'm actually going to parafilm these, the two of them together. So sometimes it's a bit hard to get your parafilm going, but I'll show you as best as I can. So my little method is I pinch and twist with my left finger because I'm right-handed, and then I pull down and stretch the parafilm with my right hand. And I almost go at a vertical positioning because I cover more of a surface area that way. Okay, all the way to the bottom. As you do these more often, you'll get quicker. But for now, just go slow and steady. And when you reach the end, you can just rip off the parafilm. Now, what you need to do to create, or to enable you to thread a ribbon through, is create two little loops. And I do this with my pinky finger. I just roll my pinky finger, roll the wire over my pinky finger. So I get a little loop like that. And I do the same to the other side. Okay, like that. And then I grab my parafilm and I just put some on again to for the hook to be taped onto the base. So make sure it's nice and tight so that hook's not going to suddenly pop up, and do the same on the other side. Okay, so you end up with a neat little hook like that on both sides. Okay, you can put that to the side now. Now you want to start cutting all of your flowers about no more than 3 finger lengths. So with your carnations, try and cut either above or below a node. So these little things that sort of sit about a finger away from each other are called nodes. And you can use the buds if you like, or just the flowers themselves. You might get a few little buds in there. I think it's nice. It shows you the growth period of nature. We start as tiny little babies and mature into big, beautiful blooms. Now your chrysanthemum, same thing. Once you establish that that's roughly about 2 finger lengths, you don't need to go and measure each one. You can just guesstimate. It's just so the flower crown's not so weighted. So do this with all of your flowers. Now regarding quantities, I would say at least 20 blooms. So I have 3 carnations and probably going to use about 12 chrysanthemums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 3, 6, yep. So I can keep a couple aside as spares just in case. Now with your Statice, some of them are longer, some of them are smaller and shorter, so you can just have a variety of lengths and shapes and sizes for this. So I'm going to keep this one a little bit longer. That's a bit shorter. I might combine it with another Statice that's smallish. This is nice and lengthy. Will it be too lengthy for a flower crown? Nah, we'll give it a whirl. I hope everyone's enjoying their hibernation so far. I know I am. I've been crafting lots. I made this painting behind me. Made this flower crown recently at TAFE. Made another painting. I've made a vision board that's hanging up on here that I might show you later. So I'm really tapping into my crafty side. Okay, even your leaves, you don't want to go more than sort of 3 finger lengths for these either. Just extra weight again. So they're mostly pretty short at this stage anyway. Okay. Now with your, if you've got succulents at home or you've got something else that's a bit lengthy, you might just want to trim these down as well. So I've got now 3 separate little pieces. This one's quite long. Cut that a bit shorter. Very long here, but this has sort of 3 growing off it, so I think I might keep that as is. Another long one, which I might just have to chop down a little bit and peel off some of the bottom layers. And this one, yeah, I can just keep that as is, give it a bit of a trim. Okay. Your Spanish moss. Now there's a few options for this. You can create little bundles of Spanish moss by sort of twisting a small piece together in your fingers. You could even bind it now just with a bit of parafilm just to keep it intact. Doesn't need wires. We don't need to do more to nature. It already looks beautiful. The only wires I like to use for this is just for the base. So it's nice and light. So you now got a little piece like that you can use, or you could entwine it at the very end and just sort of zigzag through your flowers and foliage. That looks quite interesting as well. And it might hide some of your mechanics. You know, we do want to work neatly, but if it's your first time ever making a flower crown, you may make some mistakes. It may, you know, be some little hiccups there, so don't worry too much. So I'm just going to make, say, 3 little bundles. So see how I'm sort of twisting just to create a stem. Obviously there's no stem, they're an air plant. They'll hang off anywhere. So once this flower crown has expired, it's still lovely to hang somewhere and, you know, enjoy nature carrying on. It could still become a permanent feature in your house or garden. Okay, so just 3 of those. Now we can begin. We can begin our construction. So always give yourself lots of parafilm, and I like to put parafilm down my top because it's nice and warm down there and I always remember where it is. And parafilm works best when there's a little bit of heat behind it. So if you're working from a cold place, I'm not, it's actually quite warm out there, but if you're working from a cold place, it might be hard to get the parafilm going. That's my little tip. Just remember to take it out if you go somewhere, which you're probably not. If you answer the door, maybe remember to take it out. So my first placement is going to actually be one of my leaves, my gorgeous ivy leaves. And I'm going to place it really quite close to the end, almost hanging off the edge. And what that's going to do is cover the little loop that I've created. And so that's going to be the start and the finish for my flower crown. So there's a bit of continuity. I always bang on about the principles and elements of design in my classes. They're kind of like maths for floristry. And I think that they're really important because I think it keeps things in mind when you are creating a design. You know, it needs to have rhythm, balance, there needs to be some sort of harmony. There also needs to be some sort of contrast. So I'll probably talk about those a bit more into today's design and future designs. So I've done this very quickly, but I'm going to work backwards and show you how I do this again. So once you find your place that you want it to go, paste on your parafilm. Even if you have to go around a couple of times, once it sticks to itself, it'll work better. Then you're just going to go around, squeezing the same method that you do your wires, squeezing your parafilm together and working your way down just to the end of that particular stem that you're doing. That's important because there's air that's escaping the stem, so the stem is sort of slowly drying, but the faster we do this and close up the end of the stem with the parafilm, then that little bit of water that it was sitting in previously is going to still stay in there. So it'll give you longevity essentially for your flower crown. Okay, next placement I think will be one of these little Statice. So Statice is typically a transitional flower. So it means it's kind of branchy, it sort of connects your dots. But I like to start with transitional because I think it gives you a nice length to begin with. But I'm going to have it throughout the whole design anyway. So I'm kind of mimicking the direction that the leaf is going. So I'm actually going to place the Statice kind of over that spot and mimic that same direction. Just keep in mind, if you place your stem on the right, keep the stem to the right when you're wiring. If you place it on the left, keep your stem to the left when wiring. So we don't want to cross over the stem because that's going to make your band thicker and not as neat. And you don't have to rip the parafilm off every single time. Just keep the parafilm on there, leave it where you're finished and move on. So I think now it's time for a little chrysanthemum. You might have some that are bigger, that are smaller. Start off with your smaller chrysanthemums first and work your way to the bigger guys. That's an element of design called gradation, grading your materials. So we want the bigger, more beautiful stuff to the front. This essentially, where you've made your loops, that's the back. So this is sort of a half crown style. Just because it's quick and easy and it's a good first step to doing your flower crowns rather than a huge, big, long one where you require a lot more flowers and more wire. So this way you get the ribbon sort of becoming a feature of the crown, which is why I chose that green. But twine works beautifully, anything you've got lying around, lace, if you can fit it through the loops. So you don't want to put too many of your big flowers towards the back is what I'm saying, or at the start. Now you can double up on your flowers. I've got lots of chrysanthemums, so I'm going to place another one. As you can see, that first Chrissy shot is gearing towards the right. So I'm going to place this one towards the left, which means that I have flowers on each side of my crown. So I won't get a big strip of green on one side. It also means that I can flip my crown over one way or the other. I don't have to wear it the way that I've created it. I can wear it that way, I can wear it that way. So as long as you keep in this zigzag movement, so you can see left, right, left. My next placement's going to be a right one. I think I might actually put a little bit of this Spanish moss just to break up the flowers a little bit. Then you can start to sort of entwine it through the flowers there. Okay, now your crown will start to dip down as it gets a bit heavier. That's good because our heads are circular, they're not straight or square, so you want it to have a rounded shape. Now I think I will put one of these little buds of carnation just to break up the pink a little bit. So colour wise we are going mostly for a monochromatic crown today. I picked pink because pink is the colour of your crown chakra. So since I'm making a flower crown and I'm into chakras, pink is a great colour to work with. The Carnations are just slightly lighter, but if you look very, very closely, they've got a deeper pink that goes through. It's quite beautiful. So I'm just going to put the one bud there, I think. And I wonder if I use some of this. No, a bit further down. So if you're not sure, put a flower or a leaf or the Spanish moss up to where you intend it to go. See if it's going to work. If not, retract and put something else. If you tape something and you're not happy with that position, you can always undo the tape. It's not permanent, it's not super glue. You can just remove it. Okay, so just a leaf again. We've got a monochromatic colour with the flowers, but our green leaves and our grey moss and our bright green succulents are adding as a contrast in shape, in texture and in colour. So we're ticking the boxes, which is good. Now I'm going to start again with my Statice. And again, I'm just going to place it. That leaf becomes a nice background for my Statice to sit on. So it's quite an unusual papery sort of flower. So it does actually dry well, if you're into drying flowers. Now, if you follow a little pattern, which I'm kind of starting to do, I've got one Statice, I've got 2 Chrysanthemums, I've got that Spanish moss, and then I've got a little bud of Chrissy, and I'm starting that again. This should feel like flower therapy because you don't have to think about what you need to place. You're just working towards a little pattern. It should be really calming and relaxing, hopefully. For your first time, maybe not, but don't stress. Everything you do the first time is a bit scary. I myself had to, when I studied floristry, had to do flower crowns, I think about 3 times till I officially passed. And there might have been some tears on my second go when I didn't pass. But, you know, later down the track, I guess I really liked making them, and I started doing them in flower crown workshops for hens parties, which are really popular. And it kind of is what got me into teaching in the first place, because I just loved making flower crowns. I could see how people enjoyed creating them as well and wearing them. Who doesn't like to wear a flower crown? So it's really what got me into the whole teaching game in the first place. So I've got a big appreciation for crowns, and I think in this time of crisis, you want to just put on something that makes you feel good, even if it's just for you. But we often don't do things for ourselves, so this is a nice thing to do for us. Okay, I'm going to lay this succulent. Now it's going to be a bit droopy, but I'm going to sort of try and feed it through the flowers and twine it a little bit like the Spanish moss. So I've skipped the Spanish moss at this stage in my sequence, but I still might put it in. So I don't really have a plan when I'm making flower crowns. I just sort of let the flowers guide me to what should go next. You can definitely create a plan if you like. You could just lay the flowers on the table and see how they're all going to work together. But I like to wing it because I'm a fairy and I've got wings. So I think I will still put this Spanish moss, and I'm just going to wrap it around. So I like really whimsical, kind of wild, kind of rustic things. So my style of floristry is not perfect by any means. I don't portray that. I think your style of floristry is who you are. I'm not really I am a neat person, but I'm not in many ways. I do have that drawer, that horrendous drawer that just has stuff in there that gets cleaned out once a year or something. Okay, as we're nearing the middle, this is when I'm going to start to grow my flowers a little bit more. So next in my sequence is the Carnation, and that's why I only really put 3, because they're such a bold flower. I didn't want it to be too symmetrical. And you know, if used wisely, you can have them spread out, 1, 2, 3, or you could bundle them all up together, group them into a little trio of 3. That's perfectly acceptable. Your creation. I'm just showing you the steps that I've modified over the years. Okay, so next in line would be my leaf again, and again you can even start to put a slightly bigger leaf too if you like. That's why I just love using ivy leaves, because their shape is quite unique in nature. They last really well. Like I said, it grows on somebody's fence. Might not be your fence, might be your neighbour's fence, but I'm sure if you ask nicely or text them nicely, they wouldn't mind. In fact, you're doing nature a favour. You're giving it a haircut. Okay, so we're up to this far. So I'm basically at my middle now. I've got a little mirror behind me. Now at this stage, you could think about turning your flower crown around and actually working your way backwards. So otherwise, if you go all the same direction, you get to this point, you have nowhere to parafilm anymore. So at some stage, you're going to have to turn around your crown and then start working back into it. And I'm just sort of thinking that might be the time now. So let's turn it around and we'll start at the beginning, which is the end. The beginning of the end. So again, you might have to unravel your parafilm, which is nice and warm in there now. And just start your leaf again right up. So the leaf actually covers that loop that you've made. It's just a nice finish, that's all. There's nothing wrong with the loop showing. But this way you're just going to have the beautiful ribbon and bow as a feature, rather than our mechanics. So mechanics is a really funny word to use, and I've used it many times in my classes, and I always feel a bit strange calling anything mechanical in floristry, but it's just there to say our workmanship. Okay, so we started with the Statice, that's right. So again, your small Statice, don't go for anything too big. This is too beautiful to put at the back. It definitely needs to go at the front, it needs to be shown off. So at this stage, actually, I generally like to cut my parafilm off. It just gets in the way. This way you can just sort of rotate your parafilm in midair, and you're not sort of getting caught with the parafilm around your chest. Okay, then it was the two little carnations. If you don't like symmetry, which a lot of people don't, or you get lost in your world of creating and you kind of forget your rhythm, that's okay. That's okay. No one's going to know the difference, not even you. That could be your design feature. Oh, I put one here and then 3 here and then 4 there or 2 there. That's all right. Just have fun with it. That's the main thing. Do something for you. Do something that you can wear and feel happy about, and get better and better each time you do it as well. Did I put my... Yes, so next I put the Spanish moss. So it might help to feed it through as you're placing it on. Now the Spanish moss will sort of dry, it will keep its colour, but it will dry, but you can always spray it with some water every now and then to revive it a little bit. The succulents will keep growing, so they might just sort of keep growing in and around your flowers. They also need water to survive though. So you'd be looking at a half dry, half slightly living crown here. Now I did use a little bud, and look, I'm going to bend the rules. I'm actually going to put these 2 buds together. These are the carnation buds, which is definitely fine because neither have opened yet, and they probably won't because I'm cutting them off from their water source. But I still want to show, and I still want to repeat what I did previously. But look, 2 is better than 1, and there's a little bit more impact that way. So the carnations. Then I had my leaf. See, even I forget my sequence. Okay. I love to have music when I do floristry. I think life is too boring to work in silence. So you know, for future online tutorials, I will play different music each time, and I will write in the details what I've been playing, so you might like to listen to them yourself. And next was, trying to see now, my Statice. Oh, it's just getting quite long, so I'm going to have to chop this a little bit. So you can see I'm getting closer and closer to my middle now. And soon I'm going to start to bind kind of underneath things, in and around. It's just the, you know, it's just disguising how this all gets created. So nobody knows. I'm just seeing when I actually put my succulent. Not for a while because it's very long. Okay, so a couple more Chrissies. So I'm going to have leftovers. Could make another one. So the flower markets in Sydney is still definitely open for business, and I think the growers would be more than happy for you to purchase flowers from them. But like I said, in times like this where you maybe don't feel comfortable about going to your big flower market, the local grocery stores, you know, will sell flowers. You might have a lovely little garden where you can just pick what you need. It doesn't have to even be flowers. You could just make it out of foliages and succulents and, you know, make it interesting. Okay, I'm almost at the point, yep, where I put my succulent. So I'm just referring to what I did to see where I'm up to. So this succulent's going to sort of sit here. And then I'm going to put the carnation on top. So I will entwine that through somehow, but for now I'm just going to bind it on. Actually, maybe that's a bit too long. Here we go. So it's always better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. So it doesn't matter if you've cut more than what you need. You could make something else. It doesn't have to be a flower crown. If you've got any ideas of what you'd like to see me create, something that you've always wanted to learn how to make but you just haven't been sure, message me. Write in the comments what you'd like to see. Okay, carnation is going to slip right here, but before I do that, I'm actually going to put some parafilm on it first. So if it gets to the point where I might not be able to parafilm it entirely because it's sort of hiding under things and I can only maybe get a strip or two towards the top, at least I know that the end of the stem is now parafilmed. Also, they work, you know, really well when they're sticky. So sticking it to something will enable me to get a bit of parafilm around, and that's all you need. It's secure, it's not going anywhere. I've never had a flower fall out of a flower crown, as far as I know. No complaints yet. Okay, so this is where I probably will have a nice little cluster of carnations, but first I'm going to put well, I'm actually going to do a little trick that I've learned over the years by using 2 ivy leaves. Just sit them both kind of kissing each other, then parafilm them together. So this is a really good way to cover quite a bit of surface area if you need to hide anything. That'll sort of be my last, one of my last spots. Now I still want to maybe get in one more Statice, but I might cut it down a little bit. Again, put your parafilm around, get it ready, and I think I just want a little bit of Spanish moss too, just cause I love it. So I've got a whole wall of Spanish moss. I don't really do anything to it. It gets wet when it rains and when I occasionally hose, but it just keeps growing and I keep cutting it. Okay, so I'm thinking Spanish moss will have to go here because that's what I did previously. I did a sprig of Spanish moss after I did that succulent. Okay, that's pretty secure. Then I will probably have to parafilm this carnation too. Get it all prepared. So I'm going to try and just slip in this Statice under the leaf. And then just look for a spot where you can get a bit of tape around. So that's under this very nice large ivy leaf. Okay. Now, yeah, I think I'll just put one more going in that same rotation. So now they're sort of meeting in the middle. It gets a little bit like surgery here, making incisions. Don't worry, the flowers will be okay. They're survivors, just like us. Now my leaves, if I kind of put this, I'll try and show you, in between these two. Yeah, that covers up that spot really nicely. And I can quite easily wrap the parafilm around it and also conceal my workmanship under all these gorgeous leaves. I might just cut that. I don't want to accidentally rip any flowers after all that hard work. Okay, now you can make your necessary adjustments. So see, this carnation has become quite a feature of my crown, and it's probably just sitting, well, it is roughly in the middle. I thought slightly off center maybe. Okay, last but not least, you need to add your bow. So I've still got a few of those left, but I don't need any. I've completed everything. So I would say about an arm's length. Use your good cutting scissors. The red and whites won't necessarily cut ribbons with a nice edge, and vice versa. I wouldn't be swapping these to cut your flowers. They'll ruin your scissors. Then you're just threading your ribbon through each loop. One through here, one through here. And you should be able to put this on your head yourself. I'll just show you at the back how I tie it up. You want it to be comfortably tight. Not too tight, not too loose. And look, I probably could have cut a little bit more ribbon to create a bigger bow. So let me do that. So let's go a meter, which is a little bit more than arm's length. It's generally from your collarbone to your hands. Okay, let's try this again. And you can even up the ends. I'll show you the big reveal when I turn around. Now I'm actually going to cheat because I've got a little mirror here, so I can just make any adjustments that I feel necessary before I show you. So my wispies can get hidden. Now I've got a little theory that things sometimes work better another way. If you've tried one way and it's not sitting correctly, try it another way, and you might find that it just sits better that way. Okay, lost a little flower there. That's it basically, your little flower crown. made with pretty pink blooms, some soft green succulents, some Spanish moss and some beautiful ivy leaves. Thank you. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoy creating it, and I look forward to seeing your creations if you'd like to share, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.